there are some bigger voices in this sport, and they want changes done to the eye poke rule and to the foul rules. The same media that was complaining about it, they were kind of quiet tonight. This fight looks a lot different if we take points every single time. Do I think he deserved the title shot? No. Ian Garry, Belal Muhammad. There is a lot of controversy already around this fight. I noticed that a lot of the media that was talking about, hey, there should be an eye poke every single time someone gets poked in the eye. There should be a point taken. There should be an eye poke every time someone gets poked in the eye. That made no sense, guys. Sorry. There should be a point taken every time there's somebody gets poked in the eye. It makes it very difficult to do that in a 3-round fight. And I know it doesn't mean that it's any less important because someone did get affected by the eye poke. It literally would have changed the outcome of this fight. So when I think the same media that was complaining about it, they were kind of quiet tonight. They were like, hey, like this is the way it kind of goes. Like Ian Garry Machado, like basically dominates the fight. I mean, it ends up being a very, if you end up taking a point, 2 points, not one, every time, because I've heard the top media people, talking about this. And look, I'm not digging on the media. I'm just simply saying that's a reason why, and I've talked to Andy Foster, I've talked to other commissioners about this. There are some bigger voices than my own. There are some bigger voices in this sport, and they want changes done to the eye poke rule and to the foul rules, which I would agree with. Okay. The eye poke rule to me, though, is very accidental. Your natural reaction is to put your palms out there. We do it in our bigger gloves when we spar. And if you're a media guy, you guys would never know that because you guys don't spar. And I'm not trying, and like I said, this is not a dig on you guys whatsoever. It's just that you guys have a job to write these things. I'm trying to inform you guys and let you guys know. It is common for boxers. You see boxers in real boxing matches. Okay, they parry punches with their glove open. That's how fighters do it. MMA guys do it with our hands open. We also reach out. Boxers also reach out as well, but they do it with their palms open. It's just that their gloves are covered at the end. There'd probably be a lot more eye pokes if boxers didn't have gloves that covered over the tips. I would imagine there'd be a ton of them. If you guys recall back in it was like the 50s or 60s, maybe even it was later than that, maybe in the 70s, they didn't have the thumb tag that attached the boxing glove from the thumb to the hand. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of pro boxers would actually try to thumb you in the eye, and they eventually put a little. It's not a string; it's more like a piece of rope, or like a thicker piece of like a tow rope piece. Mm-hmm. It's a little thick piece that goes right between your thumb that connects it to your knuckle piece, like kind of that front part of your knuckle. It attaches it to there where you would normally keep your thumb, and then the eye pokes or the thumbing pretty much went down drastically after they did that. Because a lot of boxers would open their thumb and try and jab you in the eye. And they called it thumbing. That was taken away. In this case, we can't do that because of the wrestling and the grappling. So there was a lot of talk about hey, we should take points every single time. This fight looks a lot different if we take points every single time. There was an eye poke in the first, changes the dynamic of the fight. Eye poke in the second, changes the dynamic of the fight. I haven't seen the scorecards. Okay. And I know that it was, I believe I saw it was a 30-27 on 2 cards and a 29-28 on 1. Yeah. Okay. So it ends up being a split decision. I mean, you break it down he won by the majority anyways. And we move on. This changes how this fight would have been scored. And potentially it ends up being a draw or Belal ends up winning. So this is where I guess I'm going with this is that we've got to be very careful because it is accidental. Now, for me, I think there needs to be more penalties for fence grabbing, for grabbing the top of the fence, for grabbing the fence, for putting your toes in the fence. I mean, I'm not big on the toe thing doesn't bother me as much, because
I think
it just doesn't.
It's just more dangerous for the fighter. They're going to lose a pinky toe in that thing,
It doesn't bother me, but the fence grabbing, you can grab it down low and it stops people from lifting you. You can grab it up high. It stops people from taking you down. You can grab it mid fence. You can grab it anywhere, grabbing it with your toes. You're really just trying to, you can actually use your toes to help catapult you and move you over somebody or push off the fence a little bit more and get more grip into it. I understand that. I look at the importance of all of these. And it's very difficult. It's very difficult to say how we should do it without affecting the outcomes of the fights. And that's kind of where I'm at on this. I don't want even the UFC is like, look, I want these changes made. And they are even going like, okay, we have to be very careful how we approach this, because fights like tonight would end up changing. And then other situations as well. You want that happening in your co-main, you want that happening in your main event. It could end up changing the dynamic of rankings and fights and how much fighters get paid and all of those things. Ian Garry poked him twice in the eye, but if we're going by what everyone would like, that should have been 2 points.
What's the second one?
Not in effect yet.
What's the second one? A poke though. It was like a little knuckle sandwich, a little like Three Stooges deal.
It was more the thumb went in though. It looked like more of the thumb went in, but still, regardless, it's still there. You know, you get caught in the eye, you get caught in the eye. It doesn't take, and that's the other thing, is it doesn't take much. Randy Couture, when he fought Vitor Belfort, he actually got caught with the outside stitching of the glove. And it filleted his eye open right there, basically, and it opened it up right where the lens, or not the lens, but the lid met the eye. Oof. So there's just no way you can continue, because you can end up really having lifelong damage in that situation. Now, we could suffer that at any moment, any time in our careers. But that's a risk that we take when we get in there. But in that situation, the doc came in, is like, yeah, no, we've got to put a stop to this. So there's damage that can be done with any type of eye poke. If it's just my finger just barely grazes it, sometimes those are the worst ones, because you're just catching right on the top of the lens versus like jabbing all the way in, and the eyeball actually, the finger rolls off the eyeball and goes into the side. Those ones actually, they hurt and they're blind you for a second, but then you're able to normally recover. Mm-hmm. But when they just crash, when the nail just hits the lens or just hits the eyeball itself and moves away real quick, that's when it's most painful. It's almost like having a piece of sandpaper in your eye the whole fight. Oh, so very dangerous. In terms of Ian Garry, good movement. And I've said this before, he's a great mover. I actually loved what he was doing with that rear oblique kick. Fantastic, man. He snaps it so well. And it's a fantastic technique. John Jones has done it. Holly Holmes done it. Like, you've seen a lot of fighters from Jackson Wink do it. I think Ian Garry probably does it the best I've ever seen. It's absolutely amazing.
Khalil Roundtree had a good one.
Oh, yeah? Oh, that's right. That's right. He hurt somebody, I think, a while back. Yeah, I can't remember. With it. But then you've got, with Ian Garry, the movement off of it, the ability to strike off of his movement is so difficult. People don't give him enough credit in terms of, like, he moves so well and he strikes off of that movement. There was a couple of times where Belal threw the overhand right and landed, but then they ended up in like a wrestling kind of over-under position, and Belal released and threw the overhand right. He kind of stepped to the side and turned himself out. Fantastic job by Ian Garry. I thought Belal looked good in the first 2 rounds. Third round, looked like he either started to slow down or he just couldn't find his mark. He got hit with the big shot in that 3rd round, and everything was kind of a little bit downhill from there. And it just, it wasn't looking good in that 3rd round. I figured it was 1-1 or it was 2-0 Ian Garry going into that 3rd round, but I thought maybe it was 1-1. But overall, Belal just one step behind. He landed some good shots throughout the first 2 rounds. Couldn't find the mark in the 3rd. Very tough fight. Look, I think I even talked about this with Alan Gilbon. I said, hey, in a 3-round fight, it's going to be very difficult for Belal to win. I was leaning towards Belal because I thought he'd be able to get the takedowns. But honestly, in a 3-round fight, the movement, the activity of Ian Garry, he's a tough fight for anybody in a 3-round fight. He's clean, crisp with his striking. There's not a lot of wasted movement. He's 6'3", 6'4", very difficult to get in deep enough to lift and take him down. Belal had a hard time. He wasn't able to get takedowns. You want to know why? Because every time he got to the single, you got to lift that guy a little bit or you got to snap him down. And it's very difficult to snap down those tall, long guys or lift them to get them off of their toes. So I thought Belal did a fantastic job getting in. He just wasn't able to finish the takedowns. And Ian Garry, to his credit, did a great job defending the takedowns. Absolutely great job. Do I think he deserved the title shot? No. I mean, he's, I just don't. It's not quite there. There's other guys I think that are more deserving. He's got a loss. 2 other guys don't that are ahead of him. And those guys I think are very capable and ready to fight. You got Shavkat that's ahead of him. Maybe not ahead of him now. I don't know where Shavkat will be. He probably won't be. I wonder how much credit they'll give the win. Does Morales move up ahead of Ian Garry and stay ahead of Ian Garry because he is undefeated? The Shavkat, because Shavkat's got a win over Ian Garry, does he stay ahead of Ian Garry? Beating Belal, does that catapult him in front? We're going to find out how this all shakes out. I couldn't get my UFC rankings to open. Didn't matter anyways. They won't put this rankings up till Monday.
Yeah.
But
you want me to read them off for you? You want me to read the rankings off for you?
Yeah, I think it's Belal.
It's JDM 1, Belal 2,
that's right.
Michael Morales 3, Shavkat 4, Carlos Prates 5, and then Ian was 6.
Yeah. So he beats Belal, but Shavkat's got a win over Ian Garry. So I don't know if they're going to put Ian Garry ahead of Shavkat. I mean, that was Shavkat's last fight. And I know the inactivity. I understand where people are saying. I'm not trying to pick who should be where. The UFC will definitely settle that. But in this situation, it's going to end up being, I think it's going to end up being JDM, probably either Morales or Shavkat, somewhere in that mix. I would say maybe Morales. And then you got probably Shavkat and then Ian Garry. Ian Garry's not going to move too much. And then you put Ian Garry, and you put Belal behind him. It'll be JDM first. That's what it'll be. It'll be JDM. Then I think it'll be either Morales or Shavkat, then Shavkat, and then or Morales in 2 and 3. And then you'll have Ian Garry at number 4. I don't think he'll jump all the way up to number 1 or number 2. I don't see that happening. The performance was good, but he didn't finish him, didn't drop him, didn't knock him out, didn't have any of those things that really captivates the UFC. And that's kind of what they're looking for a stamp name. Morales just knocked somebody out, the number 2 guy in Sean Brady. So he won't be ranked ahead of Sean Brady. At least I wouldn't think. And that's Morales. And then Shavkat, has already beaten Ian Garry. So I don't think he'll be ranked ahead of him. So I don't think so. We'll find out, though. That's why we have the rankings, and we'll find out probably on Monday or Tuesday.